Okay, yeah, this is part 2 of the doctor situation. Sorry, I'm driving and I had people was calling to check on me because I'm not really supposed to be driving that much because of my health. So everybody's freaking out because I'm driving the other side of the state to see my son, because this may be the last time I see my son to get to spend quality time with him, because I have a major surgery coming up that they don't know if I'll survive. So anyway, we're not going down the ugly road. So anyway, I'm going to go back. So I was telling you I had to have a blood patch done. So I did the blood patch. You have to lay, at this funky angle.
At the light, turn left onto County Road 484 West.
You have to lay at this funky angle for like a couple hours or whatever. And it did not stop. So you have to wait 7 days before you can have another one. So they said, do you want to go home and deal with this, or do you want to stay here where we can at least manage the pain? I'm like, I'm staying here. I'm staying here. And so the other girl had stayed the first week, did the caffeine drip and got the first blood patch, and she had wanted to go home and come back. Well, she was up, they said, walking around the hallways and all that stuff, and I'm like, they had to blacking out my room. They had to whisper to me. Like, my head was so bad that I thought that, like, it was literally going to blow off. Like, my situation was completely different. And this girl, the other girl, continued to ask, could she come and hang out with me? And I'm like, they were like, no, that's HIPAA laws. And and they were like, well, can you at least ask her, does she want to meet me? And I unfortunately knew a little bit too much about this girl based on overhearing some conversations in the surgical ward between the curtains and stuff. And let's just say I knew I did not want to associate with this girl. And so, and I'm not a drama queen about being sick. If I'm sick, I want to be left alone. I don't want visitors. It took all I could to even have the nurses come in and speak to me and give me the ice packs to put over my head, and, while they were darkening out the room and things like that. And I have to tell y'all, I was in the hospital for 48 days through this process. And this one nurse, every time she worked, she asked for me to be my nurse, and she was amazing, and we became really close friends. And the I can't think of what they're called, but the cafeteria gentlemen that came in and took your order and stuff, because if you're there for so long, it's a massive hospital, so if you're there for so long, you can order food from like other restaurants. It doesn't have to come from the cafeteria. So he had gotten to the point where he knew what I would eat and what I wouldn't eat. So if I was going for testing, which they had to do a lot of scans and different type of things, he would know what I would want and he would order it for me. He was a gem, and he would go and buy me like certain things at the cafeteria with my own money and stuff. They were really, really good to me. And I mean, my God, I might as well have worked there. And I was blowing 3 and 4 IVs a day. So, like, yeah, the staff really knew me very well. And even though I'm in a lot of pain, I'm a very pleasant patient. And I don't hit the button constantly and all that stuff. I don't have tolerance for people that abuse the system, if you will. And so, anyway, 7 days came to do another blood patch. Did not work, guys. So like the hospital was looking into other avenues of, can we fly a surgeon in? Like what can we do? Like, this girl needs desperate help, Medtronic had came in. They don't understand what happened, which if you know anything about putting devices in your body, whoever makes them, whether Medtronics, I cannot think of who does my gastric stimulator. I have 3 different devices that have to make my organs work. And the other one bought out Medtronics on the one, I can't think of the name of it. It starts with an E. But anyway, these companies have to go in the operating room and make sure the doctors do everything right and things like that if you've not done that. So anyway, again, do you want to go home, stay here, so we can control the pain? I'm staying here. And again, the hospital is a 2-hour drive, so I certainly wasn't wanting to go home, and you can't get there so easy. So I stayed, and we waited 7 days again, and we did another blood patch. That did not work. So another 7 days, and we did another blood patch. That did not work. So they're really trying to find somebody that can come in and figure out what in the heck is going on. Why are these not working? And I had been stuck so many times at this point, because you're talking at, I'm going to guesstimate 40 days, 38, 40 days I've been in here at this point. And so therefore, my blood patches aren't working, and I'm blowing 3 and 4 IVs a day. So I'm in quite the pickle, you know what I mean? And so, they're desperate to try to figure out, what are you going to do next? Well, they also found a mass on my brain during all these scans, because they're looking to see if there's something else that could be causing this problem at this point. Did something else go wrong during surgery or whatever? Because you have to look at the options, because this is unusual. I've did the caffeine drip. I've done 4 blood patches and nothing's working. So I'm laying for, I'm doing 7 more days. Well, the 5th time the blood patch worked. Yay me. I'm going to stay a couple of days, make sure all is well, and then I can go home. And I was high as a cat the whole time, let's kid nobody, because they had to keep me drugged up. I was taking 3 different nausea pills and 3 different types of pain pills around the clock that you could mix, because that's a lot of drugs, because this was how severe the scenario was. And so like I said, the 5th one worked, so then I'm going to get ready to go home. So of course this lovely gentleman, I cannot think of his name at this point, but the cafeteria gentleman, he was amazing to me. So I gave him a very hefty, nice tip for thinking about me outside of the box, and thinking about, I gotta wonder how long she's going to be going to said test. So should we give her a salad, or should we give her what was going to still taste good when I got back, right? Because this hospital had numerous restaurants, and so he would get me whatever accordingly, and I just cannot thank him enough. And like, if he knew I was gone for a while, like, he would get me a cup of the drink, and then he would give me a cup of ice, so that when I got back I could pour the ice and it wasn't a watered down drink and stuff. Like, he was just a gem. So I gave him a very hefty tip, because without him this would have been even harder to survive. Because
in about 14 miles, turn right onto Southwest 140th Avenue.
Sorry guys. My mother lived 6 hours away, plus she was older, couldn't drive that drive, and nor did I want her to, because it wasn't like I could visit anybody. I was in terrible pain, and anybody speaking felt like they could be whispering like this, and it was like they were screaming to the top of their lungs at me. It was terrible. And so I didn't want visitors. It was bad enough they'd try to call me and I'd be like, I can't talk, it hurts, And so, and then also I had gotten Mercer in the incision site that they thought I'm going to have to take this thing out. And I'm like, I have been through the dadgum ringer over here and you're thinking I may have to take it out? What? What? This was not a good sign. This was about halfway through when the Mercer happened. And so, he had students because he was a professor. So he had, I get it mixed up, residents, fellows, whatever. They were the people that followed him. And so, and of course he came every day and he would call and stuff. And he was always checking and seeing what was going on. And so, my 2 days go, then my boyfriend and best friend comes to pick me up and take me home. And it was, it was pretty smooth sailing after that. Well, then at this point, I'd been in there for so long, I was pretty much healed. I mean, I had 6 weeks down and out. Well, I'm almost to 6 weeks because I've been in the hospital for 48 days. So it had been about like 52-ish days because, I had stayed in the hospital the one night, was home for one night, and what have you. So I was about, 50, 52 days from the original surgery. So I was pretty much healed from that part. But you had to be careful, with moving a certain way because of the spinal leak. So anyway, all was good, and then I found out they put morphine and baclofen in my pump. That is not what we agreed on putting in my pump. I said no narcotics. I was told I was getting a drug that was from a snail that was not a narcotic, blah, blah, blah. I can't think of the name of it. It was years ago. I was pretty unhappy because I was scared I was going to be a drug addict. I was going to be hooked to drugs. And I want to express this, if y'all don't remember this, that I was a single mother. And I was on FMLA. And I had my son, let's see, so my son was 17 at the time. And he was staying with a family friend, and he would call every day. He was really worried about what was going on, and I would tell him, not to drive up there. There's no sense. I couldn't visit, what have you. And he'd call and cuss out the nurses because he didn't like what they were giving me for medications, and he was scared I was going to get addicted and all this. And I don't know if I can even say what it was. It started with a D, and it's a very big drug, okay, let's just say. Started with a D. That was one of the main drugs they were giving me for the pain, which is also kind of like heroin. And so my son was really upset about it. And I went home, and all was well. I was doing really well. Things were good. And I get ready to go in to get my my refill of my pump. I was the first patient the doctor ever had done the pain pump on. He had just learned how to do them, and I was his first patient. Other girl was second. Well, he couldn't find the port to get the medicine in, so he had stuck me over 80 times trying to find the hole. And then they ended up having to take me to the hospital and do it under fluoroscopy. I'm not sure that I'm saying that right, but anyway, it's a type of X-ray to find the port. And so this was my next first after I get out of the hospital from this, and I'm thinking, what have I done? What have I done? And so at this point now, I know that I'm never going back to work, and I have to I have to tell my job and what have you. I'm not going to be able to come back. And of course, I continued to pay for my insurance. I had to have medical care, and I'd filed for disability, and I was lucky enough to get it the first try because I had already had many surgeries without ever filing for disability. I was a single mother. I had to work. I couldn't live off disability. Are you kidding me? I got bills. And so I would push myself and work. I'm like, I'm mentally stronger than this pain that I live in on a daily basis. I mean, I had to take a lot of leave from work, jobs, because obviously I had many surgeries, as I've mentioned. And so, I had a hysterectomy when I was 25, and which took me out, one of the longer times as well. So anyway, things just started being odd. So all of a sudden my phone would ring at weird hours of the night and stuff, and it would be strange random people calling me saying, "Hey, Dr. So-and-so gave me your phone number, and I'm calling to find out what your experience with this pump is. He's wanting to do it on me, and he told me that, you would tell him the thing." Now, he did ask me at one point whether I would be interested in speaking up about that, and could I just keep the leak a secret. Don't tell him that part. And I said, well, I'm going to have to think about that. Like, I don't really want to have all these strangers calling me, asking me questions. Like, I mean, I tried to do support groups, and people are little lunatics in there, and I'm not about that kind of life. I don't live my life going, "Oh, poor me, I'm so sick. Oh, poor me, I'm so sick." I live my life like there ain't a daggum thing wrong with me. I am happy-go-lucky, and I walk out that front door and I smile, the biggest smile I've ever had, and I am crying on the inside. I'm in so much pain, but I will not show that to you. Okay? And so it's getting harder because my situation is very grim at this point. So obviously you can see it on my face at this stage of the game. You can look at me and tell that I'm extremely swollen. If you've watched any of my videos, you can see my hands look huge. It's because I'm swollen. I'm really swollen. And I have put on massive amounts of weight that they cannot figure out why. Of course, I do have serious thyroid issues and diabetic and stuff from everything at this point. But none of it makes sense for me to have put on the weight and the bloating that I have, the swelling. And so anyway, I have kidney problems and bladder problems, so I can't keep taking a diuretic on a regular basis. I can take it like
Stay
a
in
week,
the second lane from right.
and I have to be off of it for several months and take it for a week and be off of it for several months. Anyway, so
Stay in the right 2 lanes.
I had told him that I didn't know how I felt about talking to people about this pump and leaving out the fact of what happened. And so the next thing I know, I'm getting all these weird phone calls, and these people are asking me about, well, would you get it? How do you think you feel? Do you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, HIPAA laws. What the hell is this? HIPAA law. He can't give out my phone number. Oh my God, he gave them my full name and my phone number. What the hell? I was tripping, and I was really unhappy that he done this. And, but I didn't say anything to higher ups. I said something to him about stop doing it. That's a HIPAA law. And I had worked for a doctor, so I knew HIPAA really well. And this is very much against the law. And, I was livid because these people would call me at all kinds of hours. And if they had problems with their issue, they'd call me for it because, they can't get him at 3 o'clock in the morning, so they call me. And I'm like, no. I'm extremely sick, and I'm taking care of a mother who has dementia. No. Do not give my phone number out, which he had already gave it out to numerous people at this point, so they already had it. And the best of my ability, I don't know if we had walked back then, but I don't know if it's been a while, obviously. I don't remember. I had asked many people to quit calling me, and most did. And so anyway, like I said, this guy he had students following him and stuff, and so he was. Now let's listen to this. He was a doctor. He had an office at said university/hospital. He was a surgeon at hospital. Medtronics, which is a massive company, trained him to put in pain pumps. He's a professor with people following him. So 3 or 4 things, because I don't know if I said that in this particular issue. So 3 or either 4 issues that nobody pulled this man.
Tyler phone.
Okay, sorry. So anyway, so this is at least 3, if not 4. I'm thinking it's 4 that had not ran his license. Guys, a major facility. So before he was a professor, should you not have ran his license? Before he had the office, should he not have ran his license? Before he was a surgeon in your hospital, should you not have ran his license? Before Medtronics trained him, should they not have ran his license? How does he slip through 4 major things that nobody ran his license? I don't know. So, I had a girl who I had met because she was one of them that called me, that we ended up becoming really good friends. A lady, I shouldn't call her a girl. She's a lady. And she was a little older than I was. And we didn't live that far apart. We would have great dinners and sleep over. I'd come over and stay with her, and we would chit chat, and her husband was great, and we became really close friends. And we would talk about things he would say to us and stuff, and we would laugh about it. Well, one day she sends me a link, and she had told me, she says, I swear this man's trying to kill me. And I said, what? And she sends me this link. I like to have shit myself. This man doesn't have a medical license. He has killed people. In the mixing medications, he's killed people, okay? In 2 other states, and he's now in the 3rd state. I am crapping myself reading this indictment. I was so upset. So I called said place he worked at, and I was talking to his nurse, and I was like, what in the hell is this? And she's like, well, he left here and he opened his own private practice. So I called said private practice and he's like, Miss so-and-so, just come see me, and I loved him. I was not angry with him that this happened to me or anything, because he seemed to have been doing everything he could to try to help me. And now another time he had let my pup run out of medication where my alarm was going off. I ended up back in the hospital for 3 weeks that time. Like I said, the 80 times he tried to stick me and couldn't get the thing in. Like, so there was some questionable situations looking back, but I trusted him. So anyway, I said, no, I'm not coming out to your new place. I said, and how did you get my records? You're not allowed to just take my records from X, Y, and Z because I didn't sign saying you could. He had taken all of my records with him to his new private facility. And now you got to think about he's broke HIPAA. All these things that he has done are not okay. So, I can explain this situation. This is a misunderstanding with this indictment, all this stuff. I said, yeah, I'm not coming to see you, buddy. I just wanted to confront you. And so, anyway, my understanding, the best of my recollection, he did end up going to prison for a little while. And of course, this big place had fired him, which is why he opened his own private practice. And he didn't last long, obviously, because he got in all kind of trouble. So, this guy had a massive indictment for basically in one of the states that he worked at. He, because he was a pain specialist, you pay $300 cash, you got a prescription slid out the window to you. That was how I took what I was reading. Don't know all the big words. I've definitely got into law stuff since and true crime and all that since then, but it was crazy. I hope this is recorded because I'm in the middle of nowhere. But it was very scary. And so then I did some more digging. So I called the guy that wrote this article and left him a message and told him that what had happened to me at X place. And so then I called X place and I asked them how did four of their entire situation not pull his license and see that he didn't have one. Like, explain this to me. Well, I always got the runaround. I never got the true story. Well, I go back for my follow-up from my IC doctor, and he informs me that he no longer wants to see me, that I'm being discharged because of the situation with the other doctor. Which, first of all, was unfair. Second of all, come to find out, this doctor knew he didn't have a license, and that's why he wrote the prescriptions for him, and that's why he covered his Yinger gang. What? So, I was more than happy that he discharged me. Thank you for doing me a favor, because you're just as much of a jackass as he is. And so, now I'm questioning, are all your mistakes because you literally just didn't care about what you were doing or how you were doing it? Because come to find out, he had tied me off wrong, which is what caused the spinal leak. Okay? Then the other thing was, the other doctor, the one that discharged me, left a piece of metal in my spine when he put in one of his devices. He left that piece of metal in my spine, and he never told me, guys. Never told me. Okay, so my doctor currently in 2020, now mind you, not 2020, hold on, what is it? He put
In 1 mile, turn right onto Southwest
He put the device
140th
in me
Avenue.
in 2007, okay? So my doctor in 2020, in 2020 had to change the battery. And when she went in, she had to change all the wiring and stuff because it had been in there for too long. And when she went to change the wiring, she realized there was a piece of metal in there, and she tried to get the metal out. Well, when I woke up, I was in such pain that I thought I was going to die. And when she came to see what, if I was okay, and I told her, no, what did you do? And she said, well, Victoria, you had a piece of metal in there, and I tried to get it out, but honey, it's embedded. You're going to have to go see a neurosurgeon. She says, you got to get that out because
Turn right onto Southwest 140th Avenue.
Your health is getting worse, and we need to be able to do some MRIs because I can't do MRIs because of all the devices. But now they're MRI compatible. But I have said metal in me. Thank God she caught
In
it.
5 miles, turn right onto Southwest 61st Place Road.
Thank God she got it when she did. But thank God she didn't get it out, because they end up sending me to many neurosurgeons who told me that we can't do anything for you because of your, where it's at. So they sent me to this other surgeon who can open you from the front and get stuff out of your spine. So I went and seen him, and we were talking about it and stuff, and he says, oh honey, he said, where that thing's embedded and how long it's been in there, if they pull that out, you will be paralyzed. What? I will be what? What? Okay. Yeah. So anyway, needless to say, nobody's going to be pulling that bad boy out. And so, so therefore I'm still stuck without being able to get MRIs. Well, thank God she caught that, because now all the wires and all the devices that have been changed in my body because of the batteries have been changed to MRI compatible devices. Well, had she not have found that piece of wire, they would have slid me right into an MRI where I would have died. Okay? So scary as, Anyway, so, I cannot believe this has happened to me. So I decide to look up the ditwit that left this piece of metal in me to see if he was still practicing medicine. Guys, he still works for X hospital. He still is there. He got no discipline for his actions with covering for the other surgeon. Nothing happened to him, guys. Nothing. So I filed a legal complaint with the state board. Nothing happened to him. Now, if this is not a story to make you wake up and think about, pay a freaking attention to who your doctors are, what they do, and what not, I don't know what will. Because, again, type in Polaris County, Florida. I'll even go as far as to tell you he's a GYN, okay? His initials were GD. You Google him. This is the doctor that did the pain pump who had no license. You Google him, and I can prove to you, if you want proof, I've got all my medical records. I can white out my private information, but leave my first name and his name and all that stuff and prove, you know, even what he did to me or what have you. But that I'm telling the truth about this story. Now, I wanted to tell my entire health history story, and I still might go back and tell it just because of the fact that this ain't the first time some crazy crap has happened to me because of doctors. Okay? I lost my colon and my stomach. I have had over 70 surgeries in my stomach because some ditwit let my colon rupture and I had gangrene and was on life support for 6 days. Okay, they called my family in, you need to make the decision, and they were down making the decision whether to pull the plug when I actually woke up on my own. True story. Again, got proof. He still practices
In 1 mile,
medicine.
turn right onto Southwest 61st Place Road.
I go regularly. He is not in Florida. I go regularly to where he works, and I upgrade the review, and I tell people what he did to me. That is a story that I will be more than happy to share. If you just put down in the comments that you want to hear the story, I will be glad to, like I said, tell you the story the best of my ability, without giving away everything. These are my first-hand experiences. I don't think that I should be able to get in trouble for something that happened to me, that I can prove happened to me. I have medical records to prove it happened to me, and so on and so on. I did not give away specific names and things. I just gave you enough that if you want to do enough digging, you can figure this out.
Turn right onto Southwest 61st Place Road.
I want you guys to be aware of who touches you. I need you guys to do your homework.
In 1.5 miles, the destination is on your left.
Another quick thing that's happened to me, again, like I said, I can tell the stories to these things. And if this is my thought, if this is happening to me, who else is it happening to? Because I can't have all these crazy things that's happened to just me when there are zillions of us out here going to the doctor. Because I had another pain clinic that I used to go to, that one day I rolled up to go to do my monthly check-in and find out that the feds had came in and closed them down. And I think I know why the feds came in and closed them down, because the weird thing was they would always try to get you to try different meds. If they didn't work for you, they would you would have to bring that prescription back to them and turn it in to them to get a new prescription. So therefore, I think they were selling these drugs to other people. And so when the feds came in and took everything, this is the short version of this, but when the feds came in and took all this stuff, guys, they all there was a pink note on the door saying, we even confiscated your records. So therefore, I had no proof that I was in pain management, which meant, guess what? I had a hell of a time finding another pain management, because I can't prove that I'd been going to pain management for all these years, because all I had was a picture of the door where they took my records, right? So yeah, there's some scary crap going on out there. You guys have to advocate for yourself. This is what I wanted this channel to be about, which I still, as I've said, I think that I am going to continue to tell my story, and I will post the difference of like I'm telling my story of health-wise, and I'm doing craft things because I haven't been able to video. I'll tell you one reason I'm a little embarrassed to even say this, but I can't control this because I'm very sick. But I want to say to you that because I vomit a lot, because I have terrible, terrible health, my teeth crack and break and all that. And I have had to, have some of my front teeth pulled. Plus, I still have my baby teeth.
Turn left.
That's a funny story on its own. But I had to have some teeth pulled out. And, what the heck am I had to have some teeth pulled out, and I need to have, I had gotten a partial, and it looked fantastic. You couldn't tell that it wasn't my real teeth. Funny thing was, I took it out one night at home for 2 seconds to eat because my mouth was still super swollen and it hurt. And I took it out for just a second, and my little doggy ate it. And so now I had to buy another one, and they're very expensive. And I had to order another one, and they were behind. So, which is why I have not done, pictures, a full video yet, because I'm embarrassed that I'm having to wait for my partial to come back in. So I'll get it next Friday, then I'll start showing my face and what have you. I know that people are going to be bullies. That's what some people are keyboard warriors, but this is how I see you guys that are keyboard warriors. You are lonely, miserable people that sit at home and have nothing better to do, keyboard and talk smack about somebody when you probably look way worse than everybody you're talking about, and you probably are a lonely, miserable person, and that's okay. You do you, but you're not going to affect me because, listen, I've been through the ringer, and I'm happy-go-lucky, and I am a happy-go-lucky person, even though I am facing death right now, and you're not gonna break me with your comments, because you can call me fat, you can call me ugly, you can say I'm not bloated. My health has taken a toll. And if you want to talk about the fact that just my stomach has had 70 surgeries, and on top of that, I have had hundreds of colonoscopies, back injections, all kinds of procedures that I've had to be put to sleep for, that goes on top of that. So I've been put to sleep, and my life is just what it is, and I don't care what people think about me. I really don't. You just go through this crazy circle of life, and I don't, because you don't pay my bills, you don't control anything about my life, and so how can you affect my feelings? So give it your best shot, keyboard warriors, give it your best shot. But I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you've listened to this whole thing, I hope you really took something out of it. Please ask questions below. I'm more than happy to answer them. Happy to prove things. I want you to just be safe. Just be safe, guys. Gotta go. I'm at my son's. I love you guys, and hope you have a great weekend.